Hello and welcome. I'm Catalina Marchant De Abreu and you're watching W News, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya studios. These are our top stories. There are growing calls for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to testify in the U.S. over his links with Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump has said the U.S. will hopefully make a deal with Iran. And Kendrick Lamar wins 5 trophies at the 68th Grammy Awards in Los Angeles as Trump threatens to sue host Trevor Noah. The fallout from the latest releases of the Epstein files continues today, with a lawyer representing his victims saying the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor should now testify in the U.S. It comes as the UK's former ambassador to the US, Lord Peter Mandelson, has resigned from the Labour Party due to his links with the former financier and convicted paedophile. We can now go to Royal Editor Sarah Hewson. Sarah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Catalina.
Sarah, so let's start with the latest on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew. Can you summarize the most recent findings and what they tell us about the links or his links to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, we had this huge tranche of Epstein files released over the weekend, and in those files were yet more damaging allegations and photographs, emails and images about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's links with Jeffrey Epstein. There are photographs showing the former prince on all fours over a woman who is lying on the floor. There's no context to the photographs. We don't know when they were taken, but my colleagues at Sky News have ascertained that the photographs were taken in Jeffrey Epstein's New York home. There are emails in which Andrew invites Jeffrey Epstein to Buckingham Palace in 2010 and promises him lots of privacy, 2010 being significant because that was after Jeffrey Epstein had served a sentence for sex with a minor. He was a convicted paedophile at that point. And a lawyer for a second woman is claiming that she was trafficked to the United Kingdom to have sex with Andrew at his Royal Lodge residence in Windsor before she was given a tour of Buckingham Palace. It's the first time those allegations have centered around a royal property, and yet again it is dragging members of the royal family into these very, very sordid allegations, and once again showing that everything that Andrew said in that Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis at cutting ties with Jeffrey Epstein were quite simply lies. They were completely untrue, and that friendship was maintained.
And Sarah, in response to those developments, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that Andrew should testify before the US Congress. So how realistic is that, and what would have to happen for it to become a genuine possibility?
Well, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has, of course, always denied any wrongdoing in this case. And yet we are getting a lot of calls now, not least from the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, a former Director of Public Prosecutions, a lawyer himself here in the United Kingdom, that Andrew should do the right thing and testify before Congress. He was asked to at the tail end of last year. He ignored that request from Congress. They can't force him to do so. He's not a US national. They can't force him to. But the political pressure is certainly growing on him from all sides here in the United Kingdom that he should do the right thing. I think no matter his protestations of his innocence and maintaining that he has done nothing wrong, what Andrew has failed to do throughout all of this is do the morally right thing to show his support for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and to help them find justice by assisting the US authorities with their inquiries. What did he see? What did he know when he was in Jeffrey Epstein's properties? But I think given his performance performance on the Newsnight interview under questioning from Emily Maitlis. He didn't fare well, and he will certainly fear any kind of questioning from US Congress, and it doesn't look likely at this stage, no matter how much pressure he's under.
Another person under pressure now. Let's turn now to Lord Peter Mandelson, who is the now former Labour minister and ex-US ambassador who resigned from the Labour Party to avoid what he called a further embarrassment over the Epstein links. So what are the latest findings in this case, Sarah?
Yeah, from Andy to Mandy, the former ambassador to the United States. Well, in the latest documents released, it is alleged that Peter Mandelson received payments of $75,000 from Jeffrey Epstein between 2003 and 2004. It's alleged there was also a further payment of £10,000, which was a loan for Peter Mandelson's then boyfriend, now husband. That was made after Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of paedophilia. And that, of course, significant when we're looking at the judgment of Peter Mandelson. A whole series of emails between them, and now some very, very serious questions being asked about whether Peter Mandelson, when he was business secretary, leaked sensitive government information to Jeffrey Epstein by forwarding him information briefing documents at the height of the global financial crisis, that he also advised Epstein on how to lobby the British government about bankers' bonuses. And a lot of calls now. He has stepped down as a member of the Labour Party, but he remains a member of the House of Lords, and there is increasing pressure that he should be stripped of that peerage. That in itself is not a straightforward process. It hasn't been done since the 1900s, but certainly the hope among the British government is that Peter Mandelson would do the right thing and voluntarily give up his peerage and no longer be there in the House of Lords.
And Sarah, so you just mentioned the Mandelson payment here. Lord Mandelson says he doesn't remember receiving those $75,000 in payments linked to Jeffrey Epstein. And someone close to him also said that the Department of Justice documents contain errors. How credible is this explanation?
Look, I think Peter Mandelson's career is well and truly over, and I think that he is playing dumb here on this. He appears to have no recollection of this. $75,000 is a huge sum of money, isn't it, to most of us? A series of payments. He is denying any knowledge of those. But as for his credibility, I think that is really in the dustbin right now. The allegations around him, this constant drip, drip, drip of information regarding that ongoing friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, the serious errors of judgment at best, and now potentially calls for him to face charges of misconduct in public office if it is proven that he has passed on sensitive government information. Peter Mandelson is in very, very serious trouble indeed right now.
Royal editor Sarah Hewson, thank you for joining us and for summarizing the latest on the Epstein files. Let's go live to Washington now to speak to Republican strategist Adolfo Franco. Adolfo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Catalina, very much for the invitation.
Adolfo, now let's start with the latest Epstein-related documents. They include explosive allegations that Donald Trump allegedly raped a 13-year-old girl, claims that U.S. officials have dismissed. What's your assessment of the latest Trump claims in the situation?
Well, I'd like to put this in context for the viewers of what this is and what it is not. First, these documents are not new. These documents have been examined in the possession of the Department of Justice for many, many years, and have been reviewed by career Justice Department lawyers. I am a lawyer myself, over a period of years, nonpartisan. They've actually been under the custody, these documents, of both Democrat and Republican administrations, President Trump's and President Biden's. So these are being made public, but this is not new evidence. And we have to decipher a couple of things here. What is illegal, what there is a basis for the government to bring charges against someone, and what is unsavory, inappropriate, embarrassing documentation. And it's all been jumbled up together. But the public in the United States sees a conspiracy, for example, that President Trump raped a 13-year-old girl. There is no evidence of that whatsoever. And whatever allegations have been made, they are those allegations. I can make an allegation today that has been investigated again by career individuals. And frankly, there's an appetite for sensationalism in the country. I'm not minimizing the victims. They were victims of a number of people that will be prosecuted. But the high profile figures in the United States, and I know you just had good coverage on Prince Andrew, in the United States are largely embarrassing, but they don't appear to be illegal based on what has been the investigation that has been conducted over many, many years.
And Adolfo, the documents also reference an FBI memo alleging that Israel may have had leverage over President Donald Trump, along with claims about Epstein's supposed Mossad links. Also, Jared Kushner's behind-the-scenes influence. What do we actually know about all of this?
Well, we actually know very little about this, but it is not uncommon. I served in government and I have top security clearance. It is not uncommon in government to have foreign entities try to have leverage over all types of officials in the government for a variety of reasons. That is modus operandi for not only Mossad, but other foreign entities to do so. Generally speaking, those things don't amount to very much. Every foreign intelligence service gathers information that they hope can be used against an individual. And usually, if this is reported to the authorities, meaning anything that may have been nefarious in your background checks when you get these clearances or elected to office, that is divulged to the authorities and kept secret. So again, I know the conspiracy theories. I'm not a conspiracy theory person. Doesn't mean, just so you know, that just because you don't believe in conspiracies, it could actually, something could be there. I'm not saying that's the case, but there has been no foundation and no evidence. And again, these matters have been reviewed by career individuals and under Democrat and Republican administrations. And the way Washington works, very few secrets are kept. And most of this information is ultimately, if there's anything there, divulged. But when it's conspiracies, I think it's a very different story. And that's generally what the public likes, but there's no foundation that I've seen to date.
And Elon Musk was also mentioned with documents suggesting he explored travel to Epstein's Island in 2012 and 2013. Elon Musk says those emails have been misinterpreted. What do you think?
Well, here's what I think, and it's an excellent question. Whether it's Elon Musk, whether it's President Clinton, whether it's President Trump or other very high-profile figures, Epstein was a playboy billionaire. I'm being charitable here. Obviously, he was a pedophile and an awful person, but he had contacts with a wide range of very prominent social, political, industry figures in the United States. Many people knew him, and he entertained people. I believe in my heart that the majority of those individuals were unaware of his nefarious activities. I just do. But he did have friendships and contacts with many people. And some of them, for example, the former Treasury Secretary under President Obama, Larry Summers, were involved in inappropriate activities. So some of these individuals were. But just because Elon Musk had a relationship with him or President Clinton or other figures that are very prominent in the United States does not mean that they knew about what his immoral, illegal activities, which are awful. They had no knowledge of that. And that's what the Justice Department has probed. who did and who did not. But if we're going to go down a list of individuals that had a relationship with Mr. Epstein of some sort, social or otherwise, that is an embarrassment, but it's not a crime.
Adolfo Franco, thank you for joining us and for your perspective on the matter.
Thank you so much.
President Trump has said the U.S. will hopefully make a deal with Iran. It comes after Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei warned that any U.S. attack would trigger a regional war. The United States has ramped up its naval presence and air defenses in the Middle East. For more on this, I'm joined by Raghida Dergham, advisor to Al Arabiya on American and International Affairs. Thank you for joining us today, Raghida.
Thank you for hosting me.
Raghida, we're now seeing signs of possible de-escalation here, with the focus shifting back to negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that they both are serious about negotiating. Negotiation for what? It's quite clear what the Americans want and what the Iranians do not want. So let's wait and see where can they meet. Who's going to take a step backward and who's going to tolerate a step forward? I think the time is now for negotiations, but I don't think we're out we're not. It's not over. I mean, it's not over. For now, the military option is still on the table, and that's why you see the military component is very strong. But I think they both are serious, and that's new because the Iranians did not want to negotiate on the issues that the Americans wanted, but now they are. So let's see what happens.
And one of the core sticking points, Raghida, has always been Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Is there a realistic compromise on the table that could actually satisfy both sides, or are they still too far apart when it comes to Iran's nuclear program?
At this point, we have four different things going, actually. The nuclear is the priority. So therefore, let's start with that. The nuclear issue is where Iran will have to decide if it's going to tell us how much of the uranium has been hidden, or is it available, or is it going to open up for the IAEA? The negotiations on the nuclear, the negotiations are very important, but I don't think that's going to be enough. I don't think that Donald Trump is going to turn his back completely on the other components of the negotiations, which are the ballistic missiles, of course, and of course, what's happening inside Iran. I mean, are we going to go back to the brutal silencing of the people of Iran? And Donald Trump is going to agree to that, and also about the proxies. So I have a feeling that maybe the Iranian leadership would give in a bit on the proxies because they are already weak, so they don't have to bail them out big time. But I think the big time is on the nuclear, and I think the difficult time is on the ballistic missiles component. And then you have the people who have gone to the streets. I wonder what they're thinking. Has Donald Trump betrayed us, or has he bought us time in order to choke the regime and really deliver on their behalf? Let's see what happens. These are very, very sensitive times, but I don't think Donald Trump has backed up completely from the possibility or the option of a strike.
Yes, and that leads us to our next question, Raghida, because Iran's leadership warned just yesterday that a U.S. attack could trigger a wider regional conflict. Given that rhetoric, do you think military action is still being seriously considered in Washington?
Yes, I think it's on the table. It's part of the negotiations. It's part of deal making, and as far as Donald Trump is concerned, I mean, this is way that you up the ante and you demand more and you strike a deal. This is the art of striking a deal. As to the split, or as to the warnings, the ongoing warnings that this is going to be a regional war, I mean, I don't know how regional it's going to be. Of course, the Arab countries are concerned. They would prefer the deal rather than the military confrontation. Of course, the Iranians are promising that should there be any strikes, they will hit the American bases in the region, American assets in the region. Is it going to be a big regional war, as in some people are going to be with Iran and some others are going to be with the United States. I doubt that. That I doubt very much. I think if there is a war, it's going to be Iran versus the US versus Iran. The regional war is not going to be in the involvement of regional players. Neither the Gulf states are going to come in, nor Turkey is going to come in. Nobody is going to come in even the Russians, even the Chinese are not going to come in to fight on the side of Iran. So it's a regional war in the sense of Iran attacking the regional interests of the United States, bases and otherwise. So I think for now we have a few days of breathing. Let's find out how long it's going to take. Maybe Donald Trump also needs a little bit of time. Maybe everybody needs a little bit of time. But I think the options are more available in the hands of the administration, American administration. And I think the new thing is that Iran seems to be willing to negotiate seriously. Let's not really wait to say who's going to cry uncle first. I think for now it's clear, but let's not say who it is.
And you mentioned, for example, Turkey, Raghida, because we're hearing that regional players like Turkey, Qatar, and Oman may be helping to mediate here. So what role are they playing, and how important are they to keep negotiations alive?
Very important, because they really would like to reach a place or a space where they could avoid the war. Everybody in the region wants to avoid the war. But is Iran willing to pay the price for that? Again, is Iran willing to really negotiate seriously and to compromise? Or is Iran still believing that compromise means surrender? This is the big issue. For the time being, well, let's just watch and see if Iran has realized truly, if the regime in Tehran has realized truly that if they don't give in somehow and seriously, more than in one spot, more than in the nuclear file, more than just simply the rhetoric, if they don't give up seriously, then that absolute power of the United States is going to be really played up. What I'm trying to say here is very simple. If Iran is serious, it's going to have to know that giving in a little bit on the nuclear is not going to be enough. If Iran is serious, it's going to understand that it cannot go on oppressing its people in the way that it's doing. I mean, because still this is part of the equation. And the proxies. Maybe the Iranians are willing to give in a little bit on the proxies because the proxies are already weak. But I think right now we see the Iranians taking a step back and deciding that this is probably the way to save the regime. Let's hope that they are serious about it, because saving the regime is not the problem. It's just saving the future of Iran. And in that case, they have to give up a lot. Surrender, call it, or otherwise. I don't think Donald Trump is playing. I think it's a very serious game and a very dangerous one. And I think the military option is still out there.
Raghida, Dergham, thank you so much for your analysis, as always, on this developing story.
Thank you very much.
Thousands of protesters in Karachi are calling for local officials to resign over a devastating shopping mall fire that killed more than 60 people last month. The demonstration underscored deepening public anger over civic failures in Pakistan's largest city. Chris Gilbert reports.
Enough is enough. That's the slogan of these 4,000 Karachi protesters who are fed up with their leaders. This rally was sparked by January's shopping mall fire, which killed dozens. But it's about more than that. These protesters say the system is failing them, and they want change.
Karachi deserves to live with dignity, but we aren't being provided with basic necessities like water and electricity. When there's a fire, we're not rescued. When it rains, the city is flooded. Karachi needs an empowered local government system.
The January 17 blaze was the city's largest in more than a decade. It left at least 67 dead and 15 missing. The fire raged for nearly 2 days and left the multi-story complex of more than 1,000 family-run shops in ashes. Survivors are still reeling from the experience.
वो मंजर आज तक All of this keeps replaying in front of my eyes. Those children, those shopkeepers who died, may Allah forgive them and raise their place in heaven. I cannot sleep. I still feel the bitter taste of toxic smoke in my mouth.
The fire has intensified scrutiny of the city's disaster preparedness and governance. Locals are demanding compensation for the victims' families and for the businesses affected. They say public infrastructure is in shambles. Local authorities say rapid urbanization and funding limits are affecting infrastructure improvements, and they have not commented further yet. But the protests are growing, and the pressure is on authorities to show that blazes like the Gold Plaza fire will not happen again. Chris Gilbert, Al Arabiya English.
Now, the build-up to this Saturday's PFL's Road to Dubai tournament is underway as the PFL Lightweight World Tournament champion Alfie Davis prepares to fight Russia's PFL Lightweight World Champion Usman Nurmagomedov ahead of the fight. Nurmagomedov has called out Davis, saying, "Anytime, anywhere, I am waiting for you." And I'm pleased to say Alfie Davis joins me now here in the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Alfie, our first question to you. You're just days away from one of the biggest fights of your career, a title shot against reigning PFL Lightweight World Champion Usman Nurmagomedov in Dubai. So how are you feeling as fight night approaches?
Yeah, I feel great. I'm ready to rock, you know. Yeah, Usman, yes, hard name, you know. Usman Hujanikabolakov, I call him. But yeah, I'm ready to rock.
Well, that's great. Usman is undefeated and on a winning streak, I've heard. How are you planning to take on him? What's your strategy for this fight?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that's going to happen, but I think the main thing is I think I'm a better striker than him. So on the feet, I'm going to outpace him and put it on him and make it a bit of a war. So yeah, I'm looking to get in his face and push the pace.
A war is what he's looking for, perhaps. You've also earned the nickname the Axe Man. I've read this is due to your striking and dynamic style. How important is that style going to be in this fight?
Yeah, I think very important. You know, my unpredictability is like one of my big advantages against him. He's not really going to know what's coming towards him. And yeah, I'm going to be flying my limbs at him, so my knees and elbows.
And this is a huge event for the PFL as well, the Road to Dubai card. It's also stacked with top fighters. What does it mean to you to be headlining such a big show and have the chance to become world champion?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think being the main event, it's my second main event, and I think it's amazing to fight for a world title in the PFL. Like, it's such a big brand. It's just such a big chance for my career to really make a cherry on top of my career.
And Dubai has become such a big stage, right, for MMA in recent years. Does fighting in Dubai add an extra motivation, or does it add a little pressure for you?
Yeah, a bit of pressure. It's a bit big. It's sold out arena, you know. So and it's gonna. Usman's got the home crowd advantage, I'd say. But pressure make diamonds, you know. So I'm ready to go out there and yeah, shine under the lights.
And what do you think the fans like about Dubai?
I think there's a good crowd, you know. It's a very mixed crowd. They're very passionate about mixed martial arts. This region is really into MMA, so it's really good to watch how passionate they are towards their athletes. And
Alfie, if you walk away with the belt, what's next for Alfie Davis and your career trajectory? Yeah, I think I'll defend the belt, you know. So when I beat Usman, I think there's an Irish guy called Paul Hughes. That would be a very good fight, me and him. We could do it back in the UK, and then maybe I'll come back to Dubai and defend against someone else, because I'm enjoying this region. Well, we'd love to see you back in Dubai. Also, our colleague, Leanne Gerrans, I don't know if you saw this interview, she recently spoke with MMA legend Khabib Nurmagomedov, Usman's cousin, so your rival. He said he thinks Usman could finish you in the second or third round. So what's your response to this prediction? I think it's very funny. Like, Usman's not really a finisher, and also Khabib's been retired, but like he's like the main guy of the gym, and Usman's like the second main guy, apart from another guy that's not going to be able to fight me. So I think once I beat Usman, I think it's Khabib's turn to come out of retirement, to be honest with you. And Alfie, what's your message ahead of this fight? Just everyone tune in. It's going to be an absolute war. I'm going to get in the middle and bang with Usman, and it's for your viewing pleasure. Alfie, we'll be tuning in. We'll be rooting for you. That was Alfie Davis for us, joining us in Al Arabiya English. Now let's take a look at some of the other stories making headlines today. A Russian drone that struck a bus carrying 9 workers in Ukraine has killed at least 12 people. The attack, which follows a barrage of overnight drone strikes, comes 2 days before trilateral talks between Ukraine, the US, and Russia in Abu Dhabi. Gaza's key Rafah border crossing has reopened to Palestinians after Israel seized control of the gateway 2 years ago. Egyptian media said only 50 people would be allowed to cross in each direction. The Egypt's health ministry has allocated 12,000 doctors and 30 rapid deployment teams to work with the transferred Palestinians. China has executed 4 members of the Bay family mafia, one of the notorious dynasties that ran scam centers in Myanmar. The 4 men were among 21 people who were convicted of fraud, homicide, injury, and other crimes by a court in Guangdong province. The candidate for the governing Conservative Sovereign People's Party, Laura Fernandez, has won the presidential election in Costa Rica. Fernandez, who will be sworn in on May 8th, promised voters that she would apply a tough approach on crime following a surge in drug-related violence. The 68th Grammy Awards have taken place in Los Angeles. Kendrick Lamar was the biggest winner of the night for a second year in the row, taking home 5 awards. However, the biggest prize went to Bad Bunny, who won Album of the Year. The event was heavily politicized, with many commenting on the ICE protests. President Trump has also threatened to sue host Trevor Noah. Now let's get with the latest with showbiz reporter at the Daily Mail, Stephanie Tecci. Stephanie, thank you for joining us, as always, for all the showbiz news.
No worries. Well, definitely last night was an anti-ICE affair. I've always said that music and politics go hand in hand, and clearly America had a lot to get off their chest via so many popular musicians last night. I knew a storm was brewing, to be honest, Catalina, because all week activists have been urging celebrities to speak up at the Grammys. Some decided to wear these anti-ICE, ICE out pins. Others took it to the stage, like Billie Eilish when she won Song of the Year. She said, no one's illegal when the land is stolen. CBS had to censor half of her speech because they didn't want all of that coming out. We had the new Artist of the Year, Olivia Dean, who was repping for us Brits, and she also, during when she was collecting her award, she says, I'm the product of immigrants. My grandmother was an immigrant. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for her. Usually Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber, they're very away from politics as possible, but they were also wearing the ICE out pins yesterday. So people were making their statements anyhow they could last night.
As you said, making these statements, especially Bad Bunny, who made Grammy history. How did that message land with both the audience in the room and the fans watching at home, Stephanie?
I think it was powerful. It was emotional. You have one of the Latinos art and community's biggest stars finally making history, and rather making it a moment about himself, he represented for his community. He says, we're not savage, we're not animals. We just want to live better lives. We are Americans. So what other platform to say that than the Grammys? So I think that will be a moment that will go down in history along with his win. You know, in America, they have a big Latino community who've been feeling under the pressure. So when you've got artists like Bad Bunny really, you know, riding for the cause, it says a lot.
And Kendrick Lamar also made Grammy history, adding to his record as one of the most awarded artists in Grammy history. So tell us a bit more about his wins, Stephanie.
Well, I want to know where Kendrick Lamar is going to be keeping all 27 of his Grammys, because that's how much he has now, making him the most decorated rapper, more than Jay-Z, who had 26. So it was a big night for Kendrick Lamar. He won Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, and also Best Rap Performance. You know, he's had a really rise to fame, which has been quite steep, but his music just transcends all genres. But I think when it comes to hip-hop, he's really made history, and he's really cemented his name in the Grammy Hall of Fame with all 27 Grammys. And to be honest, I think he has so much more coming, because his last album, GNX, was really powerful, and he is the man that keeps on giving. Kendrick Lamar said yesterday he likes to communicate through hip-hop. He's a very quiet man, but once he puts pen to paper, he produces powerful music.
And politics didn't stop there with Bad Bunny. Host Trevor Noah also made jokes referencing Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, prompting a strong reaction from Trump, who even threatened legal action against Trevor Noah. Can you give us more context on all of this situation?
Well, we know when it comes to the Grammys, someone like Trevor Noah, he's always going to make fun of people. It's always a joke. He was talking about the Song of the Year, and he said, you know what, this is an award every artist wants to get, like Trump wants to get Greenland. He said that he's going to have to go off to Greenland now because Epstein Island is no longer available and he needs a place to hang out with Bill. Clearly, it was a joke, but Donald Trump has not seen the funny side of this joke. He doesn't see it as a laughing matter. He put it out on Truth Social today that Trevor Noah will be getting sued and will be hearing from his lawyers. Trump is not a fan of being ridiculed on a world stage like this. And to be honest, I do think he is going to follow through with this because he says both of the statements which Trevor Noah made were defamatory and also false. So, Trump is someone who always puts his money where his mouth is.
And on a lighter note, Stephanie, what was your personal favorite moment from the 2026 Grammys, the one that really stood out to you that will be remembered as a defining moment?
I think the big moment for me was seeing the Fugees reunion on stage. It's been 27 years since Lauryn Hill has performed at the Grammys. I think for a lot of hip hop fans, they've been waiting for the Fugees to get back together. They done a performance last night in honor of D'Angelo, who passed away last year, and also Roberta Flack, who obviously done the original Killing Me Softly performance. So to see her performing that, she's quite a reclusive singer. So to see her back on stage, that was a moment that killed me softly.
And Stephanie, there was also Cher blunder that's taking social media by storm. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
There was some risque fashion last night. I think, we had Heidi Klum, who was wearing this latex dress, which literally looked like it was bearing all. It was very skin tight. And I felt like literally it was like seeing Heidi Klum parading the Grammys naked. And the same with Chappelle Rowan, who was wearing quite an outrageous outfit. But I think if they don't do it at the Grammys, where else are they going to be wearing these crazy dresses? But there was some more demure, well-loved looks, including Olivia Dean, who I loved wearing a black and white Chanel gown.
Stephanie Chechi, thank you so much for always keeping us up to date with all the showbiz news. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Catalina.
And now a reminder of our top stories. There are growing calls for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to testify in the U.S. over his links with Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump has said the U.S. will hopefully make a deal with Iran. And Kendrick Lamar wins 5 trophies at the 68th Grammy Awards in Los Angeles as Trump threatens to sue host Trevor Noah. That's all from us on W News. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on X. We'll be back in a couple of hours with W News Extra. Goodbye.